The Sugarland Express follows married couple Lou and Clovis, played respectively by Goldie Hawn and the bad guy from Ghostbusters.
What kind of junk are you talking?
Clovis is currently in prison, but upon finding out their son is about to be put into foster care, Lou breaks him out of prison, they hitch a ride in an elderly couple's car, innocently get pulled over by a policeman named Slide, played by Michael Sachs, speed off, give chase, accidentally crash it, then kidnap the poor bloke and go on a cross-country race across Texas whilst being pursued by an ever-growing train of police cars and reporters to get to their son before he's placed into the foster system by the authorities. Man, Spielberg really had a boner for car chases through the desert at the time, didn't he?
What the hell are you talking about, boy?
The movie was inspired by the true story of Bobby and Isla Faye Dent, who, in May 1969, kidnapped a police trooper named Kenneth Crone, commandeered his car, and led a motorcade of police and other law enforcement officials on a chase across Texas, from outside Port Arthur all the way to Wheelock, where Isla Faye's mother lived.
And this is stupid.
Spielberg discovered the story and immediately wanted to turn it into a film, approaching Richard D. Zanuck and David Brown. Not that one! Christ!
You got any better ideas?
To develop the story with him. The pair were up-and-coming producers in Hollywood who would go on to give us the likes of The Sting and The Verdict, and they agreed to help out based on Steve's enthusiasm for the project. However, there were some changes made to the original story. In reality, the events of the movie took place over only a few short hours, but Spielberg stretched this out to a few days to help with pacing. Additionally, Bobby Dent had already been released from prison in April 1969, 2 weeks before the car chase, rather than being busted out by his wife, and unlike the movie, he sadly died almost immediately after the chase. Isla Faye, on the other hand, was caught and sentenced to 5 years in prison, but only served 5 months, and would live to her mid-40s before dying in 1992.
No way.
Furthermore, certain elements had to be toned down due to budget constraints. Spielberg was only able to use 34 cars for the trail of police and reporters chasing the couple, whereas in real life, the number of vehicles chasing them was estimated to have reached around 150.
That'll be okay, that'll be just fine.
Filming the car chases was no easy feat either. After each shot, the cars had to be driven all the way back to the starting point to reset the shot, which took an hour and a half each time, and the production weren't able to close the highway for filming either, so shooting each shot would often cause traffic jams for other drivers who were none too pleased by the delays.
Oh, shut up, mind your own business.
Spielberg also had to contend with the different acting styles of his leads. William Atherton, who was a trained stage actor, would often get better with each subsequent take, while Goldie Hawn, who was more used to film, would usually do her best within the first 2. In the end, the director worked around this by filming their close-ups first, thereby allowing the two to work on their chemistry so that it would be perfected in the wide shots.
That's the way I'd like to keep it.
However, probably the most notable part of the film's production was Spielberg's choice for composer. The director had been impressed by the music for John Wayne's of the Cowboys, which was scored by an underground chap you might have heard of called John fucking Williams. He and Spielberg met to discuss working together, and the two got along so well that John not only composed Sugarland Express, but he would go on to score many more of his movies over the next 30 years, thereby establishing the most badass director-composer duo in the history of Hollywood.
I guess you're right.
When filming finally wrapped, the executives at Universal were extremely impressed with the film's rough cut, until they screened the movie for a test audience. Though the viewers responded well during the film's first half, they were left angry at the movie's darker and more serious second portion. Because of this, Universal gave the film a much shorter release window than intended, hoping that the movie would burn out quickly and potentially result in a smaller financial loss for the studio. As a result, when the Sugarland Express was released on March the 30th, 1974, it wasn't nearly as big a hit as anticipated, only grossing $12 million on a budget of $3 million. Nevertheless, the film was well received critically, even winning Best Screenplay at the Cannes Film Festival, and Brown and Zanuck's experience working with Stevie Wonder would lead to them financing his next picture, Jaws.
If you so desire.
It's certainly an interesting film because the two main characters are treated as humanely as possible, as two criminals can be anyway. I mean, they're criminals, but they're not murderers or rapists, so you can kind of slightly like them. Maybe they're not all bad. It's quite devastating because Clovis is only 4 months away from being released, and he doesn't want to escape for that very reason. Lou has to convince him, and she does this through sex. I would have done the same thing for Goldie Hawn.
Why are they doing that?
One inmate does try to rat them out, but as a form of petty revenge, it's his parents whose car they end up stealing, which is quite funny in a demented sort of way. They end up getting pulled over because the old bastard isn't watching the road and drives about 20 miles an hour. But my question is, who the hell gets out of the car to talk to the cops in this scenario? This whole escape and chase begins with such silliness. Although it's worth it for this reaction to two convicts stealing their car.
Oh shit, our car's stole.
I love them. Also, during the chase, it randomly cuts back to them.
Every time we start somewhere, you go to pick some fuss about something.
I just wish you'd hush, Paul. Just hush. I'm just tired of listening to you. Just as my feet hurt and I'm tired standing here. Just hush.
You can sit down.
They need their own spin-off. And they're not the only ones. There's a random guy at the gas station who is brilliant.
How y'all today?
And then the poor guy gets mobbed by all the cops trying to get some fuel. It's hilarious.
Well, thank you, sir.
In fact, the movie is littered with great comedy during dark and intense moments. It certainly paved the way for the likes of Raising Arizona and Forrest Gump and Donald Trump. But the cop initially has a prisoner in the back of his car who actually corrects his driving during the chase, which is brilliant. It has no music, and yet it still manages to remain intense as ever. Spielberg really knows how to shoot a car chase. But when they end up crashing, I just love how Clovis gets out and doesn't even bother to check on his wife. In fact, even the cop doesn't give a shit if she's dead or alive.
Lady.
I would normally question how the other prisoner manages to get out of the cop car, considering he was in the back seat and you can't open it from the inside, but earlier in the film you can see that there's literally no security barrier or anything in there. There's quite literally nothing stopping the criminal from reaching over and strangling the officer during the drive. This cop sucks! It's also a testament to their characters that they only kidnapped the poor guy. I mean, they can't leave him behind because he's now a witness, but they could just shoot him in the head and drive off. But again, they're not that bad, they're not murderers. It's weird, but you do grow to like these characters. There's a short, sweet moment as the cops watch Lou and see just how devoted she actually is to her child. Despite her being a criminal, breaking her husband out of jail, stealing a police car, kidnapping a cop, possessing 2 illegal firearms, recklessly driving through the United States and nearly taking out half the police force with a loaded pump shotgun. There's even a nice pause in the plot as the trio stop for some food, and you can tell that even Slide has grown to like them as well.
I know you're all right, and a good woman at heart. You know, might have took a wrong turn in life.
He even does his best to save them from being shot multiple times. And he tries to save Clovis after he's shot. How have they got me feeling so damn sad about a criminal dying?
I knew it.
The movie is just very human and has a whole lot of heart behind it. Although it is pretty funny how Clovis is trying to be this hardened criminal, but he just ends up being a bumbling idiot most of the time.
Come on, move it or lose it.
Do it. Shit.
Turn the lights off. All right, now let's go. Captain Tanner, this is...
You're on the outside speaker.
Although he does have his smart moments.
I said I just might see what happens. I put another hole in that thing.
Of course, John Williams shines as always with the music, but even in ways you wouldn't expect. The cop deliberately runs out of fuel at one point to try to sabotage them, but they're having none of it, so they literally force the other cops to push the car along, with Williams providing us the goofiest music imaginable. The guy who scored Jurassic Park, folks!
I think you're a mean man.
Spielberg really does his thing with some truly impressive long takes, especially from inside moving cars. It's nuts. In fact, this is actually the first movie in history to feature both a tracking shot and a 360-degree panning shot from inside a car. Towards the end, there's a scene where a rifleman is aiming out of the window towards the approaching hijacked vehicle, and Spielberg uses a zoom tracking effect to compress the foreground and background elements of the frame. He clearly liked this so much that he reused the exact same technique in Jaws for the famous scene where Brody witnesses the shark attack while sitting on the beach.
Oh, absolutely.
But what the hell kind of foster home is this when a kid this age is left outside on his own? With a dog! In a weird move though, the cops do their best to try to find the criminal's parents. They're grown adults! Are they gonna tell on them? And they do! They totally do! They find Lou's dad who gives the radio a stern talking to, but she doesn't even hear it and it's never brought up again. Almost pointless, you might say. Hope she doesn't get grounded. There's a scene where these two fellas decide to take the law into their own hands and after sneaking up, immediately blow their cover and blast away. But Jesus, how many damn bullets do these guys have? It is pretty funny how smug they are, thinking that they're helping only to get chastised by the cops for it. But hey, Spielberg completely nailed it with his interpretation of how the public treat criminals as celebrities. 50 years and nothing's changed. Why does Lou seem to be enjoying a pig pissing on her? The weird thing is, during one of the takes, the piglet actually did piss on her. What's her name? Goldie Showers?
It's worse than jail.
Although after they fail to get their kid, the cops say fuck it and immediately start blasting despite Slide still being in the car with them. Oh well, this movie is awesome. The film is great and just keeps you guessing. There's a lot of twists and turns and you'll never see what's coming next, and you can see just how it paved the way for future comedies and car chase movies. The Sugarland Express is another on the list to continue Spielberg's current flawless record. We don't talk about those.